Hi, I'm Carmen Michael Smith, and welcome back to another episode of Heart of the Moment. Today, we are talking about tough on crime because crime rates have risen sharply post pandemic in a lot of American cities and towns. The crime rate is up. People are fearful. I know I was watching the news the other day, and in DC, there was a whole night of surge of carjackings, and they are warning people about carjackings. Even a congressman had been attacked and I believe fatally shot. Crime is up and people are afraid. And being that this is an election year, people are back on the rhetoric of I'm tough on crime. And in Washington, D.C., I know that the mayor and city council are in the process of passing what they call a massive public safety bill. It is a collection of more than a dozen changes to criminal punishment and policing laws. Activists have rallied against this, saying that you can't loosen the policing laws that protect brown and black people in marginalized communities, and that this bill is actually going to make Washington, D.C. a police state. What I want to talk about is the rhetoric of tough on crime, because I think that what we're missing, I don't know if you can hear that even as we hear cop sirens in the background, but that this rhetoric is often used to target us. In 1968, Richard Nixon, while running his presidential campaign, popularized the phrase tough on crime when he said, "I am the law and order candidate." Now it's funny how history works, because he was less of law and order and more like a Breaking Bad extra. I mean, who would have thought the guy running on law and order was really planning chaos from the White House? I mean, it is the equivalent of saying to Al Capone, "Hey, why don't you run the neighborhood watch?" But we buy it every time. Hook, line, and sinker. A candidate gets on the podium or gets in the media and says what? "I am tough on crime." And because the news presents crime to us first and foremost at night, live at 5, live at 7, and it's always there's a carjacking, there's a shooting, there's a mass murder there. And because we're presented with this, stoking fear, we believe for some reason that even from 1968 to now, that these candidates who stand up and say that I am going to restore law and order, I'm going to be tough on crime, I am going to be toughest on crime, and whatever the rhetoric they use to say the same thing, because people are afraid, we believe. But think about it. Since 1968 till now, has crime gone down? Consistently. Have any of these tactics worked? Harsher punishments. Have they worked? Because the evidence says that there has been little to no significant crime reduction due to harsher punishments. What it does show is that it's helped political candidates get elected. It's helped to stoke fear, and it has helped those seeking to capitalize off of the criminal justice system to make more money. And that's not just on them, that's on us, because we believe them when they say, "I am the law and order candidate," or "I am going to be tough on crime. It's time to get tough on crime," when there's been no evidence or very little evidence that that is actually true. And I'm not saying I want crime. Let's be clear. I'm saying that after all this time, we should have been asking questions, I believe. Like when someone says that they are tough on crime, ask them how. And if they say, "Well, we're going to have harsher punishments don't work. What else are you going to do for us?" We've had that since 1968. What now? What's new now? We have new technology. What's new now? Because when you want to present a drug to the masses, you have to go through what they call a clinical trial. And then those results are supposed to be tested and checked and peer reviewed and analyzed and gone through a whole process before the drug can go on the market. But when we want to put forth legislation that affects human lives, there is no trial. There is no city trial, community trial. There is no, let's pull the data and let's try just this with a small group of people and see how this works. We will do a 1-year trial of harsher punishments in this city and see how that works. Now, I'm sure that there's all kinds of legality or legal issues with that and all of that, but I'm saying in concept, we don't do that. Because if we did, then one of the questions at the top of the trial would be, what is the source of the pain? Not just how to ease the pain, but we want to get it at the root. And we would be asking these questions of these tough on crime and harsher punishments and law and order bills to say, why do people commit crimes? And who is committing crime? Now, we would have to actually define what crime is, not just in the sense of who, but what is crime? Again, we would have to look at facts. And so by asking these questions, I'll take DC and just say the carjackings. There was a surge in carjackings. Has anyone ever asked people, why do you commit carjackings? Because some of the evidence shows that people commit carjackings, one, because they can take the car almost like anonymously and go and commit another crime. And those crimes often involve theft. Or another reason people commit carjackings, as it said on Beyonce's internet, was that people will carjack, take the cars, strip them for parts, and then sell them to get more money. And if we are essentially stealing cars to go steal other things and stealing cars to strip them for parts so that we can sell them to get other things, money to get other things, then maybe the source that we should be focused on is, how do we get people more access to money so that they can buy things? That would actually probably help reduce crime if people had access and access to more money to buy things. And it would also benefit the American economy if more people are buying things. But we don't talk about that because it would be the truth.